Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. It's September 21st, 2017, and Saturday is September 23rd, which they're making a lot of predictions about the end of the world, believe it or not. Some kind of astrological occurrence that seems to be matching some prophecy. The big lady constellation in the sky, and the sun is moving into her head while the moon is in her feet. Something like that. And I've been making some interesting videos lately on the Jesuits, on the cause of the world unrest, on the blood rituals, Jewish blood rituals, murder rituals, occult theology, world revolution, Nestor Webster, Jim Marrs, his conspiracy books. He just passed away. But today I have another book I want to talk about. Not Jim Marrs' brother, but apparently when they talked, they determined they might be cousins. Texe Marrs. And there's a very interesting chapter in this book. I've been reading this book off and on for the last month. And I had so many other videos I wanted to put in front of this one because of what this chapter in this book talks about. Look at the symbols on the front there. You can see the symbol that's on the $1 bill, the US $1 bill. You can see the 5-pointed star that's upside down, the symbol for Satan. A lot of people do the devil sign, and a lot of the other New Age symbols on there. The black and white triangle. Another form of a swastika, some kind of rotating sun. 6-pointed star, the star that's on the flag of Israel. King Solomon's ring had a 6-pointed star, apparently with some kind of magical ability to call forth demons. That's in the Bible. I'm not making that up. And of course you got a guy here on a horse. Pale horse. Horses are referenced in apocalyptic conversations, books, ancient text. And a symbol for the United Nations, with the earth being depicted like a flat earth. Everything rotating around the center. Circle of Intrigue by Texe Marrs. The hidden inner circle of the global Illuminati conspiracy. So you can see why I had to do all those videos for the last month or so before I did this, because the things I'm going to talk about will encompass a lot of what I have talked about. The chapter I'm going to do here . Order out of chaos. The great work of the Illuminati. So as usual, I'll read. When I feel so inclined, I'll throw in my 2 cents. And hopefully it all makes sense. So I do remember years ago, one of George Bush Sr.'s videos with him speaking at some lecture was, he said, out of chaos and anarchy will come the New World Order. So I suppose the only way they're going to bring about the New World Order is with a catalyst, something to bring it about. People are not going to willingly go along. So they need something in there to stir the pot. Propaganda, deception, false flags, 911, gun shootings, bombings, White Lives Matter, white supremacist, KKK marches, protests, and the opposition showing up conveniently at the same time with the Black Lives Matter or anti-fascist movement, accusing President Donald Trump of being a Nazi. And apparently, if you're a white man speaking out against the issues of the world, you will be accused of a fascist or Nazi. And if you focus in on who's behind it and who controls the world, they'll call you an anti-Semite. So anyways, I've been doing this research since 2005 when I woke up because I went on a vacation to Costa Rica, sitting at the tiki bar. I was the only American. And these people from around the world said they felt sorry for we Americans because we didn't know what was going on. And I can understand that. Most people live in their own little circle. They don't see the big picture. So let me read from some of this and see what you think. Order out of chaos. And we know they're bringing us a lot of chaos. They're predicting a lot of chaos. Even September 23rd. Everything from the pole shift, economic collapse. What do we know? Maybe World War III will start. Maybe a nuclear war will start that day, like 911. You're never going to see it coming. Planet Nibiru, they're saying, is going to show up, cause all kinds of disturbances in the atmosphere, and things will just levitate because there won't be any gravity. The Earth is going to stop. What do we know? So anyways, I read books and try to figure it out myself, and I am figuring out something, I believe. And that a lot of this fear propaganda in the news is being created by the evil forces wanting this new age and new world order. And maybe this chapter will help expose some of the culprits involved. And Texe Marrs, by the way, has published many books. I've made other video series on his books. Mysterious Monuments, I think, is series number 25 I made on his book. So let me just read. The royal secret, the secret of the universe, equilibrium, shall at length make real the holy empire of the true Masonic Brotherhood. That would be Albert Pike, 33 Degrees, Morals and Dogma. I've made a lot of videos on morals and dogma. I have to look at my bookcase to see what series number. 85. So maybe a dozen 2-hour videos on the different chapters of the Bible for the Freemasons. The other little note here is the perpetrators of revolution have learned one thing well. They must control all sides, and that's the Christians Awake newsletter. So like I've been saying in my videos, after all my research for 13 years, started publishing videos in September 2013, so this month is about, completes my 4 years. I'm up to series, this will be 154, and this will be 399. So one more video after this will be 400 videos on YouTube, well over 500 hours. And a couple hundred books, because some of the books I put into the same series number if they're by the same author. So when I'm up to 154 with this book, it's about 200 books. There are two great forces in the world. Each is directed from the same boardroom. James Knox, American Focus. So they do control both sides. They control the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. They control the KKK. They control the opposition to the Ku Klux Klans, the Rainbow Coalition, gay pride parades. They control both sides of everything. They control the conservatives, the liberals, the Christians, the anti-Christians, the Arabs, the Americans, the Russians, the Chinese. The elites are everywhere. They have permeated all of our society at the leadership positions with all these secret societies all over the world. It's plain enough to see if you want to look. And they're bringing us this 5G network, 5th generation microwave communication system, which is supposed to be the final tool in their war chest for this new age and new world order to connect everything. Microchips everywhere, controlled by this communication system with gigantic beast computers. Unfathomable, really, if you think about it. All right, to the book. The great work of the Illuminati. A lot of people don't want to believe in the Illuminati. When I started my video series 4 years ago, and I made comments on press releases 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 7 years ago, people would make comments and call me crazy, go back on your medications, Rick. If you mentioned it in public, people would giggle. Now I've proven with my video series that the Illuminati is mentioned in books 100, 200 years old, mentioned by rabbis, mentioned by the theological Theophist societies, Masonic organizations, Kabbalah people, Rosicrucian people, rabbis. And it's represented as the all-seeing eye on the US $1 bill. The great work of the Illuminati, the transformation of mankind on planet Earth. Every sentence in this chapter is just amazing. Will be substantially completed in the decade of the 1990s. This was the prediction of this century's most wicked occultist, Britain's Aleister Crowley, the man who relished calling himself the Beast 666. And I've had people defend Aleister Crowley. I've had people defend witchcraft. I've had people defend killing is okay. And I realized a long time ago I'm wasting my breath trying to convince people, anybody, of anything. So that's why I make videos, and people can listen to what I have to say if they so choose. They can do what I do and take notes and go look up stuff and use their God-given brain to try to see for themselves what's going on if they think something is going on. A lot of people don't even want to look at the sky spraying of chemicals in the sky. Seeing the jets turn nozzles off and on, the plane will come along and then turn on the nozzle and there'll be this white streak of powder. Turn off the nozzle and move on. And if they watch that white streak of powder, it'll unfold like a blanket and paint the sky pasty white. And you got to know the chemical has to have some effect on bees and animals and birds and humans and water, plants, everything. And you got to know that it's got to change the temperature in the sky, colder or hotter. There are different debates on that. In other words, controlling the weather. More insanely that a lot of people don't think about, but apparently they're disabling for the large part lightning. And lightning needs to hit the ground. It ionizes the ground, one of the main ingredients for plant growth and other kinds of Mother Nature activity. It's natural. It's designed that way by God. like everything else. Oranges, bananas, chestnuts, acorns for squirrels. The whole system. And a lot of scientists will say that it is intelligently created. It wasn't an accident. So why would Aleister Crowley want to call himself the Beast 666? In his sinister book, The Book of the Law, published in 1904, series 23 of my series, I did a video on his book. Crowley testified that a demon spirit identified as Horus is represented by the all-seeing eye on the US $1 bill, FYI, gave him this prediction. So there's a lot of entities communicating with people, and even Jesus said in the Bible, test the spirits. Just because some entity communicates with you or me or anybody else doesn't mean that entity could be from the heavenly realm of God's world, Jesus' world, the Holy Spirit world. Remember in the Bible it says 1/3 of the angels were cast out. Horus also told Crowley that in the 1940s would be a decade of chaos, bloodshed, and war. A startling prediction that came true with the chaos and flames of World War II. So I've been talking about all these subjects in my previous videos. Thriving on chaos. Apparently Crowley's spirit guide, Horus, thrives on chaos. We can see chaos is alive and well. We've had a couple hurricanes recently, a couple going on right now. One just hit Puerto Rico. So we got two that hit really bad, Florida and Texas. One hit Puerto Rico today. And one is slamming New Jersey, New York, Long Island right now. 2 earthquakes recently in Mexico. One yesterday, 200 people died a couple days ago. Another one, 12 or 13 people died. Major forest fires, which is not in the news that everybody is being made aware of, but forest fires all over Western Canada and Oregon, Washington State, California. One half of the United States is burning while the other half of the United States is drowning. And not too long ago, it was the opposite. So somebody is destroying our planet. We are under attack, clearly. And there are many other things going on as I talk about these things. I think it's going to get worse, and I think it's all planned, and this chapter is absolutely relevant. Thriving on chaos. Apparently, Crowley's spirit guide Horus thrives on chaos. Indeed, all demonic powers are enchanted with chaos, for it is through chaos that Satan's objectives are met. And again, when you mention Satan or Lucifer or any of this stuff, people start getting a little bit gaga, goo-goo, giggling. They get silly. So I guess a better way to explain it, it's apparently, as a lot of people will admit, we are spiritual beings in these biological bodies. In the Bible, it does say 1/3 of the angels were cast out of heaven, the spiritual world. I've made plenty of videos from psychic research, remote viewing, channeling, and all this other stuff to show, and I did this on purpose, that the spirit world does exist. There's plenty of books out there, books on ghosts, documented throughout history in the Bible. There should be little doubt to anybody else that there's more to reality than we all know. So when I say Satan or Lucifer, just think of it as some kind of evil beings like we have here on earth, but in the spirit world. And apparently they are jealous, and they have a serious hatred towards humans. That's why they were cast out of heaven. They didn't want to go along with the rules of the heaven world. And on earth, they don't want to go along with the 10 Commandments and the rule of the earth world. Satanic doctrine teaches that ultimately the New World Order can be established in society only after a time of planned, great world turbulence and chaotic behavior. And by the way, you do not have to listen to me on this video. You can turn it off right now Go online and find this book. Go to Texe Marrs' website. Go to used book website, new bookstores. He has many books published. And obviously, from what I'm reading here, it's right on target. It is this very concept, order out of chaos. Like I said, George Bush Sr. said that, out of chaos and anarchy will come the New World Order. They've all been saying it. Even the Pope. Talk about global currency, one world religion. Everything is matching what's in the Bible and a lot of the other ancient texts. And a lot of it is distorted and fabricated to try to promote some kind of huge fear. Even something called Project Bluebeam, where they want to fake some kind of alien invasion, Planet X, an EMF, electromagnetic pulse. They have the weaponries. They've used the weapons in 911 on the Twin Towers and Building 7 and so much more. Controlling the weather, so it seems. That's not just me. There's a lot of people with a lot more brains and PhDs and doctoral degrees than I have. Eyewitnesses from the inside, whistleblowing, trying to tell the truth. Magazines, books. I've gone over these things. So order out of chaos, which is the foundation of all Masonic doctrine. So I have figured out in my research that all these secret societies are connected, and they are a derivative of the original ancient and historic entities that have been the kings and queens and leaders at the top of the church and other secret societies, which I call sorcery or witchcraft. They've been causing lots of problems on planet Earth for quite a while. Significantly, Masonic initiates elevated to the 33 degrees are given a jewel to wear proudly. This jewel is decorated with the sign of 3 interlocking triangles, representing both the holy, unholy Trinity and the number 666. The jewel is also inscribed with the Latin inscription, order out of chaos, interpreted as the order out of chaos. The royal secret of Freemasonry, the true word of a master mason, is the word equilibrium, signifying that order shall be established by the Masonic Society's God-man leader. So there is this Antichrist that's supposed to be coming on the scene. Of course, there'll have to be a lot of chaos and anarchy, which we have right now, before they'll bring this person on the scene when something seriously dramatic is supposed to be threatening the whole planet, and this God-man leader will save everybody, and everybody will try to worship this guy. That is, the zombies that are asleep and not realize it's a plan like 911 and a deception like the moon landings and the weather controls, chemtrailing, HARP microwave transmitters, so much more. World War I, World War II, Israelis bombing the USA ship Liberty, assassination of presidents from this country, Costa Rica, Panama, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Egypt, and so many more, either killing them or having them just deposed, causing revolutions. Been going on a long time. All right, God-man leader out of chaos is quelled and universal order is established. So that's how they're going to bring about the New Age and New World Order. There will be a big event. Students of the world conspiracy will recognize this philosophy as the working of the Hegelian dialectic. So they do, in order to, for example, attack the Middle East, they couldn't just do it. People would be in an uproar. So the elites, the secret societies, demonic forces, are limited to the extent they have to fool everybody. So when they did 911 and mysteriously found a briefcase with the list of, 50 different conspirators in the 911 event, the hijackers, etc. And then later on, Saudi Arabia was suing the United States saying that, wait a minute, a bunch of those people on that list are still alive. They're not dead. So if you go watch any recent 911 videos on YouTube, more and more evidence is coming out. I think more and more people are completely aware, even insiders working with NIST, that would be the technical people who analyze the Twin Towers. Some of those people are coming out and saying, why did NIST, and by the way, it was something interesting about that, why did NIST completely ignore everything? And the thing I noticed that was interesting, if I can find the book here, finding all kinds of evidence of all kinds of things I didn't even know after this much studying. But apparently, NIST, the people who did this book, 911 Commission Report, with a lot of evidence from Webster Tarpley's 911 Synthetic Terror, and many other books, videos, websites, people on the inside, that it was, there's a lot of evidence implicating Israel, Mossad, and of course, who benefited from 9/11? That would be Israel, Mossad, and they have plans for a greater Israel. I found that on the internet also. But anyways, the executive director, the leader of the commission staff for the 911 Commission report was Philip Zeveloff, executive director, a Israeli-USA dual citizen, deeply involved in the establishment for many years. And even one paper he did at a university, a lecture, seemed to be filled with communist language. I found that out and copied it. So I just keep getting amazed the more I look into this, the more I find out that we've all been deceived. And anybody, if they want to look, can clearly see it. They put the fox in charge of the hen house when they put Philip Zegelwiv in charge of the 911 Commission investigation. And I checked out some of the other names working under him, and they're all coincidence, interesting characters with seemingly connections to Council of Foreign Relations, another secret society created by these elites bent on the New Age and the New World Order, controlling America's foreign relations. Just saying, you don't have to work very hard to find out the truth here. But I think they believe that we are too stupid to even look and use our brains. So that's called the Hegelian dialectic, when they use incidences to further their aims. Crowley was a knowledgeable Mason, and as such he knew well the royal secret. The global equilibrium, or synthesis, was to be achieved as a direct result of chaos, even to occur during the final decade of the 20th century. Then would emerge the new civilization, the birth of a global society led by a small band of spiritually superior men. Do you believe that? Satanically energized God men, to be exact. So the symbols are everywhere. Almost every town or city has an obelisk downtown, that big pointy statue, which is a phallic symbol for Osiris. And many other symbols, gargoyles on your buildings. The conflict of opposites towards a holy empire. What is the high-level Masonic initiate chosen for world service told of the meaning of the royal secret? Anyways, here's the picture of the jewel they get when they get to be 33 degrees, and here's a picture of Aleister Crowley, the evilest man alive, bragging about sex with children, sacrificing young children, having sexual orgies to do satanic rituals. Apparently, these kinds of satanic rituals bring forth demons through portals. I've gone over this in previous videos, plenty of information about magic, Kabbalah, sorcery, the occult. That's one of the common denominators in all this stuff. Anyways, and here's a picture of the eagle or bird with two heads with a crown on top. The pyramid with the all-seeing eye, like on the US $1 bill. Some kind of diploma they get. And the left is the Order Templia Orientis, like their Scottish Rite cousins, have long employed the symbols of a double-headed eagle, and the all-seeing eye is shown on the Masonic Charter. Top right, British Satanist Aleister Crowley, whose spirit guide told him of the great work of the Illuminati. And the lower right, the Masons rising to the highest 33rd degree, receives this jewel, which they wear with pride. Observe the Latin phrase, order out of chaos. So there's the three pictures. You can see Aleister Crowley. You can look him up on the internet. He was communicating with some masters called Lamb and Iowas. And if you look up pictures, they look like gray aliens. This is the badge they get. And here's the written diploma for 33 degrees. And here's the text if you want to pause your computer and read it. So I just thought this chapter here was a really good summation of the conversation I wanted to have at this time. Summing up a lot of things that I've talked about for 4 years and read about, researched for 13 years. Before that, I was like everybody else, going about my business, trying to enjoy life. But there were some stumbling blocks in my life, like 911 and other things, that were piquing my interest. I kept saying to myself, this is weird. Why would people in Argentina, California, Canada, North of the United States, South United States, Germany, and other places all over the world, why would everybody be losing their homes and there be economic destruction going on? That can't be a coincidence. So it was just common sense that I had conversations in my own mind as I was going about running my business, which did involve consulting small businesses, reviewing their financial information. And I noticed after being in that business for 16, 17 years, you know, like if the SBA is going to loan you money for your business, they want to see your taxes and your growth going up. They're not going to loan you money when your business is going down, failing. So when I started to notice on my appointments week after week, month after month, that people's financial statements and tax returns were going down, and reading the paper and seeing other things, as an educated man, I have an electronic engineering technician degree, worked at a major aerospace company 10 years, and wasn't obviously, I was an alert person who read magazines and newspapers and watched the news. I wasn't brain dead like a lot of people. And it just occurred to me that somebody was planning all this. And when I started my investigation, that's all I knew. I had no idea about UFO, aliens, remote viewing, psychic research, Zionism, communism, or there were different tribes of Jewish people involved in the world conspiracy, and other tribes of Jewish people and other religions aware of this, trying to tell the world. And a lot of those people, even including U.S. presidents, were assassinated. Presidents of other countries that wouldn't go along, assassinated. Wars created to kill off huge groups of people that were undesirable, that weren't following the Vatican's party line or convenient to other people to make a lot of money or take over that country. All planned behind the scenes. Equilibrium. He is instructed that the Illuminati is currently creating and fostering two opposing forces, which clash and compete. So like I have been learning, we all want to point the finger. Who is this? Who did this? And I'm finding out that they control both sides of all sides. So they control the Vatican with the Christians. Of course, not all the Christian people in the lower levels. Good citizens out there, God-fearing, praying for the world. But at the top of the pyramid, the Vatican's scheming and changing their own religious laws over the last 1,000+ years. And on the other side, you got the Zionist Jewish people into the Kabbalah, mysticism, and witchcraft, sorcery, controlled by these same forces. So you think they're opposing forces, but the evil occult groups are controlling both sides. Even the high levels in the Islamic Arab groups, they're all not just one religion. Some are Sunnis, some are Shiites, some of them are even atheists, some are Christians, some are Buddhists, some are Hindu. But most people don't know that when they watch the news. But these people have had a long time to get in control of almost everything. That's why they had all those revolutions and wars. That's what they were doing. It's in their books. I've gone over it. So apparently, with this new age, the age of Aquarius, is a clock sort of thing to them. And they want to bring about this new paradigm on planet Earth, matching biblical prophecy. So the two opposing forces that clash and compete. Chaos is produced by the friction between these two polar ideologies or groups. And it is through chaos that the plan for global domination and the self-realization of deity is executed. And interestingly enough, I asked myself while I was reviewing some more of this material this morning, when was this book published? The copyright 2000, so this was prior to 911. Kind of important to know in the back of your mind as I read this stuff. So before 911, here was Texe Marrs, a retired Air Force officer, I believe. And he sends me these newsletters. I've been sharing these in my videos as I get them for quite a while. The plan for global domination and self-realization of deity is executed. The heated battle that ensues results. The heated battle that ensues results. Finally, the equilibrium. So they do need to have, apparently, they're trying to not have it, but they do need to have World War III to bring this new age and new world order to fruition, completion. And they have a lot of tools in their war tool bag, deception tool bag, propaganda tool bag, biological weapons, weather control, economic weapons, nuclear weapons, terrorist weapons, mind control weaponry, and now with the 5G 5th generation microwave communication system, they're getting ready to turn the switch on where they can monitor and control everything. Seemingly something unstoppable. The synchronistic balancing of the two opposing forces. In all occult systems since the beginning of time, this system of achieving equilibrium through the planned conflict of opposites is found. So historically, with the Jewish people, for example, divide and conquer has been one of their tactics for thousands of years. And particularly, they sit up as the puppet master, and if they want to gain something from the peoples below, they'll get two parties divided, fighting each other, like the Britons or the Germans, and the puppet masters, the Zionist communists, will have been at the top of that pyramid orchestrating those events: World War I, World War II, French Revolution, Russian Revolution, Oriental Chinese Revolution, U.S. Civil War between the North and the South revolutions, and other wars. Like I said, they've been doing this for quite a while. Like I said, this is an interesting chapter in this book. Every sentence seems to be applicable to things I've been researching for 13 years and making videos on for 4 years. International Masonry's most distinguished scholar and occult teacher, its former Sovereign Grand Commander Albert Pike, wrote of equilibrium in his lengthy and authoritative volume. And of course, equilibrium means a balanced equal, to keep the battle going. Because if it's one-sided, obviously the other side will lose and be gone. So it's got to be equal, just like the Democratic and Republican Party. Think about the past presidential elections. All of them. Weren't they all neck and neck? Small margins of votes. Even when Bush won, they had to count the Chads. They have to keep it neck and neck. And I notice they do that with football games now and everything else. It keeps people on the edge of their seat. So it can't be lopsided. These puppet masters want it to be divide and conquer. White supremacists against black supremacists. Gays against straights and Christians. It has to be a 50-50 battle everywhere, and it has to be continuous. So Albert Pike wrote of equilibrium in his lengthy and authoritative volume, Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Like I said, I've got a dozen 2-hour videos on the different degrees of that book. And I'll be looking at that book again and reading about another degree and making another video. I'm going to continue this investigation and making videos for at least another year before I may go off on another topic. His statement came at the very end of his classic book, frequently touted as the Bible of the Freemasons, things I've been saying for quite a while. There on page 861, Pike discloses the ultimate goal of the International Masonic Order and indeed of its hidden overseer group, the Illuminati. So the way I see it is the people behind the Zionist, communist, Kabbalistic, sorcerer, witchcraft Jewish people, including other people, because this involves the ancient hieroglyphics of Egypt, as Aleister Crowley has told us in this book, and in my book I did on his Book of the Law, Series 23. So these people that are into some kind of demonology, interdimensional beings that happen to look like gray aliens, according to Aleister Crowley, have been working through all these people into these witchcraft secret societies. And apparently the Jesuits are some kind of Marrano Jews, according to the book review I just did, series 153 on the Jewish blood ritual murders. So I need to look up Marrano Jews and see how they were part of the creation of the Jesuits, who were working and controlling the Vatican. This is going on for a long time, 1,000 years or longer. And they were working, and so-called also the Illuminati, who were creating or controlling the Freemasonic lodges. And they control a lot of these other societies, New Age groups, including Bohemian Grove, Rosicrucians, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, Club of Rome, Council of Foreign Relations, Heritage Foundation, Trilateral Commission, and thousands of other names. So you finally, after you start looking at this for a while, you start to see the pattern, the original location of this source of many strings, like a spider web. There's actually depictions of this whole thing as a big spider web. So the tentacles are out there everywhere. Overseer group, the Illuminati. So Albert Pike says, the royal secret of which you are a prince, if you are a true adept, So people who join these secret societies, who want to be initiated, illuminated, will become a prince of the devil, Lucifer. And again, if that word bothers you, just think about some kind of demonic interdimensional entities. And they look like gray aliens as well as reptilians from my investigation, which is in many of the books I've gone over. Now we know what's going on, why they're bringing us the UFO, alien thing, Galactic Federation and all that. They want to try to paint these creatures as benevolent beings like the Palladians and Zetas, etc., coming to help and save mankind, whether they're from Draconia or Orion or the Pleiades, etc. It is a deception. Alright, so in that which is the Zohar, an occultic and Kabbalistic text, sorry about that, just like to make a point here, I got numerous different books on the Zohar. I haven't really read one of these completely yet. There's so much to do, and I've done so much, you can't get to everything, it takes time. An occultic and Kabbalistic text, the mystery of the balance, it is the secret of universal equilibrium. Such, my brother, is the true word for the Master Mason. So they tell us this as above, so below, or everything is black or white. They say that evil is not evil, it's just another experience. Aleister Crowley preaches that. All this New Age occultic stuff says that. Such, my brother, is the true word of the Master Mason. Such is the true royal secret, which makes possible and shall at length make real the holy empire of the true Masonic brotherhood. So we hear about these Arab brotherhoods, these Oriental brotherhoods, the brotherhood of the Ku Klux Klans, and all these Freemasonic brotherhoods. You hear that word, your antenna should go up, your alarm bell inside your brain should go bing, bing, bing. They're telling you something. The goal, Pike revealed, is world government. Remember, Texe Marrs wrote this book in the year 2000. I came along late. Most of us did. The Holy Empire, which will be the world government, according to Texe Marrs, ruled by the princes of the unity in diversity. We all hear these words, diversity, biodiversity, sustainability, globalism. Tear down that fence between the United States and Mexico, President Donald Trump, etc. It's all propaganda. New Age religion. Pike relates this goal to the teachings of the Zohar, just showed you the book, the Babylonian book of the Kabbalah. I've been making videos on the Kabbalah, and I will continue to read about the Kabbalah and share. The ancient system of magic and mysticism, first adopted by apostate Jews taken captive in Babylon and brought back with them to Israel. So apparently when the Jews, the Hebrews, original Jews, 3,000 years ago or something, were taken captive in Egypt, the Pharaoh, where the pyramids and the Sphinx are, they had big palaces, mansions. Anyways, the Pharaoh and whatever those entities or beings were knowledgeable into magic. In other words, they knew things about physics, about the natural behavior of reality, what causes gravity or interdimensional communications between other beings, controlling gravity, lightning, some of the creation of the world. They knew things. And maybe they got that information from fallen angels who would have known things, you think? So anyways, when the Hebrews were taken captive, as it says here, they learned about this magic, the Kabbalah, etc., by a couple other names, Zohar, etc., from the Egyptians, the Pharaoh. And then, of course, when they got their freedom, by praying to God, praying for someone to come save them. Moses, who used magic or called on God's magic to create the plagues, etc., to help them escape, parting the sea, they say even. So that's where the Jews, the Hebrews back then, got their knowledge about magic. So what's kind of ironic is the witchcraft magic power that imprisoned them and controlled them. They used them as slaves to build pyramids, etc. When the Hebrews left Egypt, they had that knowledge, and they've been using it against the rest of the world like their captors did to them. Just stuff I put together here. Anyways, it was called the Kabbalah, also known as the Kabbalah, spelled with a C or spelled with a K. Contains the seed doctrines of Luciferianism. So I figured out this Satanism, Luciferianism, is basically communicating with some kind of interdimensional beings, fallen angels, whatever. And there apparently is some kind of cosmic battle going on, or some eventual war even in the spirit realm. Or maybe it's just some gigantic school or prison where the war has already been won, and a lot of other people are sent to Earth to find out what kind of people they are before you let those spirits loose yet again in the universe. I don't know. Interesting conversation. Something to just ponder. But anyways, this part seems to be real. The murder and perverted treatment of humans has been going on quite a while by some demonic beings. And they apparently have a lot of humans who will turn traitor on their own kind. Seed doctrines of Luciferianism, which have, thanks to the secret societies and orders of the Illuminati, by now been disseminated to all corners of the globe. So like I said, they've permeated governments and societies all over the globe. That's why they had all these wars and revolutions and murders, assassinations, and theft and everything. It's like the mafia is in control of the world. And of course the mafia are assassins and hitmen and thieves and so much more I could share, but you can only do one sentence at a time. And I'm trying to do it in a logical order with these book reviews to keep me under control, because this stuff will just make you go off topic really quick. 10 Signs of the End of the World, page 97. In a video recently produced, I provide ample evidence that planned chaos now confronts us on a grand scale. And again, I'm reminded of President Senior George Bush Sr. When he was president, he gave a speech and he said, out of chaos and anarchy will come the New World Order, a rule of law. So, but whose law? God's law or their law? In their law, they can say anything they want. They can create the Hunger Games movie type of reality. Mad Max reality. Looks like they're working to that end. I provide ample evidence that planned chaos now confronts us on a grand scale. That video was entitled, you probably can go look this up, 10 Signs of the End of the World. These are the 10 signs which I discussed and will document the success today of Satan's ages-old plan to reinvent the world and create a new civilization. And even Adolf Hitler was into trying to create some kind of new superhuman eugenics. And even in the United States back then in the early 1900s, late 1800s, they were talking about eugenics. These sinister forces, and if the word Satan or Lucifer bothers anybody, just think of it as spiritual entities that are jealous of humanity, God's creation, and putting we spirits like me in this body and other people to have this beautiful experience on planet Earth with sunrises and sunsets and rivers and streams and oceans and sailing and fruits and vegetables and getting married, raising children. Life. What a gift. But there are other forces that would use this life for their demonic dictatorship. That's what's coming. So anyways, there are 10 signs of the end of the world video that Texe Marrs made that you probably can find on YouTube. Number 1, the New World Order is being created with Israel and Jerusalem ready to become the capital of the world. That's why all this is happening. That's why they had to have 9/11. That's why they had to destroy all those nations. They plan on a greater Israel. There are maps on YouTube and Yahoo image site. Just type in Greater Israel. So they need to have this being who's going to be an antichrist who is supposed to be Jewish. And apparently Texe Marrs is an authority on the Bible. Not apparently. He seems to have studied a whole lot more than I have. But number 1 is mentioned in Matthew 23 in the Bible, Theologians 2, Revelation 11.8, Revelation 18.24. Number 2, commercial and political Babylon now exist. We can all see that they've taken over the USA money supply and also taken over money supplies all over the world. Something people don't know, but they took over the USA money supply in 1913, December 21st, while everybody was on Christmas vacation, Congress and all that. But what people don't know, since they've controlled the USA money supply for about 100 years now or more, is that in the 1800s they had done the same thing in Germany, and for 50 years the United States was printing its own money before 1900. But before that, these people from overseas, Illuminatis, had controlled the USA money supply in the early creation of the USA. And numerous USA presidents were poisoned, assassinated with gunshot, etc. It was a huge battle. So Babylon does now exist. They are in control with the money, and they even have the all-seeing eye, the demonic symbols on the US and $1 bill, and on other currencies. FYI. Number 3, false Christ and false prophets emerge and deceive millions. Matthew 24, Revelation 13. We see all the videos on YouTube, whether it's channeled information, communicating with these Zetas, Palladians, Barbara Marciniak. Now, who are they talking to? What's the message? I've been studying that, and I have been studying it and studying it and studying it, and I am coming up with some common denominators, some deceptions. The worldwide mystery Babylon religion of Satan is revived, Revelation 17. We know they're destroying Christianity. A lot of people will tell you there's no God, that Jesus Christ was a myth. They're destroying the Arabs, the Islamic religion. Aleister Crowley in series 23 of my video series, Freemasonry and Satanism, even attacks the Buddhist religion, Islamic religion, and all religions. And these entities talk about complete world domination. You can go watch my video. I show you the pages from the book. And he got the information from Iowas and Lamb, and they look like, and Aleister Crowley drew pictures, and they look like gray aliens. The financial control of world economies and the taking of the mark are made possible, Revelation 13. Apparently to a video I was watching today and I've heard about before. When they do cause this big event, like a plague or something that requires everybody to get a vaccine, in that vaccine will be a small little chip the size of a pencil lead at the end of your pencil that will be injected in your body, and you will be connected to the 5G, 5th generation microwave communication system, to the beast computer. Number 6, the Word of God is being attacked and ravaged. We've been doing that quite well. Revelation 22, Timothy 6 in the Bible. Number 7, Bible prophecy is today horribly mocked and scorned by supposed Christian leaders. That's happening. Go on yahoo.com, and if you have an email account there like I do, or if you don't, just go on that. See the press releases. Read one about Donald Trump or anything else that's political or global warming or gay pride parades. Scoot to the bottom. click on the comments and read some of the comments, and you will see that prophecy, God, Christians, all good people, like number 7 says here, horribly mocked and scorned by supposed Christian leaders, etc. Number 8, the gospel is shamelessly marketed like soap. Romans 6, Isaiah 56, Peter 2, Peter 1.7. Moving on here, page 98. Number 9, false teachings multiply, and the spiritual death of the apostate Christian establishment is in evidence in Timothy 4, Timothy 4.12, Peter 2. I guess evidence in the Bible, his research. Number 10, demonic communications abound as insatiable satanic agents devour mankind. And so many people are on their computers listening to all these psychics or channelers on all these different beings, information on astrology, and so much more deception. Genesis 6, Revelation 18, Revelation 16, Colossians 2. It is for his fidelity to this satanic plan that Vice President Al Gore, a Mother Earth worshiper and a closet occultist, is touted by the press for his professed goal of reinventing government. So they tell us they want to reinvent government, and all our leaders now are of no use and are all part of the conspiracy or the criminal network, which seems to be true. But when they convince people to allow the United Nations or some other country like Israel to take over governing the USA, all is lost. Then it's going to get worse. Like all these other countries that have been overthrown or revolutions. When has it ever helped the people? Usually they have purges where they kill all the people that don't go along. Meanwhile, those in the know understand clearly why White House Speaker Newt Gingrich, an Illuminati insider, has endorsed the technical fascist New Age book, Creating a New Civilization. I have that book, by Alvin and Heidi Toffler. The 1990s have indeed turned out to be a banner year for evil. To further their cherished goal of reinventing the world, the men of the Illuminati have sponsored numerous events designed to raise global consciousness. For example, America's First Lady, Hillary Clinton, went over to the Copenhagen in March 1995 for the United Nations World Summit on Social Development. You see the words they use? They are meeting with 120 heads of state, and the UN Secretary General Boutros Ghali. Hillary, smiling, announced that the American taxpayers would immediately shell out an additional $118 million to assist in social development, meaning revolution around the globe. The United States, they call one of those programs Agenda 21, which has been upgraded to Agenda 2030. If you would divide 20 by 30, you get 666. They like to leave us clues. In September 1995, yet another U.S. delegation headed by Hillary Clinton trekked to Beijing, Red China, for the UN's World Conference on Women. So they use these women's rights things and marches to further divide and conquer. And nobody wants to hear that. They use the black people for the same thing. They use the gay people for the same thing. They use the white supremacist people for the same thing. They want to keep us all divided. United, we can defend ourselves. Divided, we all fall. The world falls. This disgusting affair was followed by one even more odious. Mikhail Gorbachev, Gala, held apparently enough in gay San Francisco from September 27th to October 1st. At Gorby's Bash, an impressive array of world leaders met to further the Illuminati's plan for a new world order. Attendees included former President George Bush, former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher of Britain, President Yaakov Havel of the Czech Republic, CNN magnate Ted Turner, and former Japanese Prime Minister Yasuhiro Nakasone. The meeting was officially called the State of World Forum. The Gorbachev Foundation, U.S. taxpayer-funded, naturally, headquartered in Presidio, California, heralded the event of the birth. Sometimes I just speak the wrong words. But I try to catch myself and correct it. The birth of the first global civilization. So remember, this book was published in the year 2000 by Texe Marrs, who has been a researcher many more years before I started. A lot of these early researchers, like Jim Marrs and others, William Cooper, Beware a Pale Horse, Michael Ruppert, Crossing the Rubicon. So many of them have already died. So that's why I do these book reviews. Because a lot of people wouldn't know about a book like this or many others. Some of my books are 100, 200 years old I go over. Information you can't find. So I thought, what better thing for me to do, something unique, is to go dig out this material and share it. Within weeks of Gorby's meeting came two other premier Illuminati-sponsored events. In early October, Pope John Paul II addressed the United Nations General Assembly, commemorating the 50th birthday of that august and satanic body. The Pope spoke on the subject of how tolerance can promote world religious unity. You know, they use words to trick us. And when they talk about tolerance, or they talk about socialism, they're really talking about accepting satanic behavior. And socialism will lead to communism, which means communes and people living like cattle. You just got to pay attention to the words. This demonstrated his support for the UN's designation of the year 1995 as the International Year of Tolerance. And just look up United Nations and occult, satanic, or the meditation room, and you'll see all the occult symbolism there. Look at the all-seeing eye and pyramid on the $1 bill. Look at the pyramids downtown everywhere. The gargoyles on the buildings. There's so much satanic symbolism. The Archway of Baal in New York and London. Later on I found out through UNESCO of the United Nations, they were trying to put 1,000 of these archways to the devil all over the world. There is something huge coming. Back to the book, page 99. Israel's ambassador to the UN was no doubt thrilled to hear this message of his friend, the Pope. Indeed, the Jews celebrated their own international gala, an extravagant 3,000-year birthday, in October to mark Jerusalem's tri-millennial anniversary. So this does go all the way back to Egypt, back to the Jews exiting Egypt, bringing with them the witchcraft and sorcery of the Kabbalah and mysticism, the ancient teachings depicted on the hieroglyphics in the Egyptian buildings, pyramids, sphinx, and also cuneiform tablets, Zechariah Stitchin, depicting planet Nibiru, planet X, Anunnaki beings. It's not hard to figure this out if you think about it. Meanwhile, page 100, Chaos on a bloody scale had been in abundance. In the 1990s, massacres and genocide in Bosnia, Rwanda, and Burundi shocked the world's conscience. The FBI, CIA, and BATF, Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco, I guess, and other Big Brother agencies staged terrorist bombings, sniper attacks, burnouts, killing fields around the USA, including grim events at the New York Trade Center. This is prior to 2001. There was a bombing in one of the Twin Towers earlier. The Oklahoma City Federal Building. I've made videos on these books about these incidents, and I will continue to relook at these things again and again. The Branch Davidian complex at Waco, Texas. They pinned it on the cults and the dreaded patriot militias, of course, and on terrorists and fundamentalists of all stripes, of course, Christians and Muslims, of course. Naturally, most of these staged death events were scheduled to occur according to satanic ritual calendar, which I've been looking at, and of course again. The symbolism is everywhere. And you don't even want to go look up witchcraft holidays, because you're going to see some websites with some pictures of things they do, including with children, that are too grotesque. It'll make you sick. And a lot of people on YouTube and books published, Kathy O'Brien, many others, talk about the things that went on while they were members of witchcraft organizations or the Illuminati, and a lot of books on Jewish ritual murder and why they need blood from non-Christian young boys, and simulated crucifixions of Jesus again and again using young little boys and lambs and stuff I've been making videos on. There's some really evil forces out there. It's hard to believe. It's hard to, I didn't know where I was going when I started my investigation. First couple years, I wasn't even into this stuff. I was more interested in getting a new career in alternate energy other than gas and oil and nuclear power, after spending 10 years at a major aerospace company, and then the next 15, 17 years with my own business, and just reaching an age where, you know, I had promised myself I would do certain things with my life. So things happen when they're meant to happen. People wake up when they're meant to wake up. Right now, they do say there is a great awakening, which means the evil forces have to move a little faster, and that's why they're trying to bring us this global surveillance system and control system, even with powers to be able to kill people with just pushing buttons. Death rays. Nikola Tesla invented one of those, and those drawings and all that technical information disappeared right after his death. So who do you suppose controls our government? Who's in charge of all these black projects like Project Paperclip, MK Ultra, Project Montauk, and so many more? A clue to the occult significance of such events is given in the Masonic textbook, A Bridge to Light. Published in 1988 by the Supreme Mother Council, Scottish Rite. In its pages were the again reminded of Pike's theory that crisis and turmoil shall make possible, and shall at length make real, the holy empire of the Masonic Brotherhood, which has all the symbolisms of the King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, and includes all these Jewish people who are into the Kabbalah and mysticism, witchcraft and sorcery, which does not include all the Jews. The Orthodox Jews who still believe in the Bible have been trying to warn the rest of us for quite a while. Go look up the Benjamin Friedman's famous speech, or President John Kennedy's famous speech, as well as many others, or my book reviews on Henry Ford, the automaker's books, The International Jew, or many of the other hundreds of videos I've made on hundreds of books on my series Freemasonry and Satanism book review, or many other people's videos and books like William Cooper, Michael Rupert, Jim Marrs. I've got so much material published. I've been studying this quite heavily since I started. For better or for worse, I don't know, but I've been studying it. Yes, according to Masonic wisdom, out of chaos shall come the order ekao. This, of course, is the occult teaching and a reality of which the profane, lower-level Masons know nothing. That's what I've been saying. If your uncle, your father, your brother is a Mason, you want to defend them, and I can understand that. They don't know anything, like it says in this book. For the truth is kept hidden from them and veiled in symbols and arcane doctrine. But it is religious dogma par excellence for the men of the inner circle and for their Illuminati henchmen. So in these secret societies, thousands of them and organizations, even the fastest growing church, the Church of Satan, a lot of people think, oh, witches aren't bad, Rick. None of these secret societies are evil. Lucifer's not evil. The Palladians are not evil. The Vedas. Nancy Leader. Who says Nancy Leader is evil? I'm not saying that. I'm saying I question who these Vedas are. Barbara Marciniak. I've read and made videos on her books. I seriously question that material. These Palladians who were here on Earth thousands of years ago, who have come back to fix some of the problems they created. They want to make amends for mankind. So how do we know they're here to really fix problems? The higher level initiates are well aware that in the working of the plan, death and bloodshed, unparalleled chaos, are prescribed. John Rudolph Price, president of the Planetary Commission, and organizer each year of the massive and worldwide Instant of Cooperation event, has proclaimed that the divine plan requires chaos to cleanse and purge the world before a bright and new era can emerge. Did you hear what I just said? The divine plan requires chaos to cleanse and purge the world before a bright and new era can emerge. So everything has to be destroyed before a bright and new era can emerge. And all the people who believe that and want to be a part of that, think about this. You're not going to be around when the new era emerges. Everything needs to be destroyed. So crazy how so many people are falling for this new age and new world order. Globalism, perversion, transgenderism, pansexualism. Support for Israel when Benjamin Netanyahu recently spoke before Congress in the United States. This is the Prime Minister of Israel. 19 ovations by the Republicans and the Democrats. So those people, I was paying attention to that video, 19 times. Every time that guy said a sentence, they all stood up and gave him an ovation. So you know who controls the world. You know who didn't want to look bad. All these bought and paid for politicians. You know where their butter is coming from on their bread. But a lot of us already know this. This new age will be a new heaven on earth. This is what they teach. Preparations are being made now, and out of chaos will come the beginning of peace on earth, a new order for mankind. So they've got a lot of people zombified, believing there's no God and no religion. But now they're saying there'll be a new heaven on earth. Now what is it? Is there a heaven or is there not a heaven? This new world order. What is it? Do as thou wilt. You can do anything you want. Illegal, rape children, steal money, murder people. That's what they teach. How many people are falling for Aleister Crowley's The Book of the Law and the New Age material? How many people out there have skulls and daggers and horrible things tattooed all over their bodies? And a lot of the city downtown areas have gigantic skulls painted on the buildings. Are that many people possessed by demonic entities? Could it be? It is interesting to note that this quote by John Rudolph Price is found in his book entitled The Super Beings. In that book, Price quotes certain spiritual entities from beyond as revealing to him a coming new age kingdom on earth. A new age to be led by highly evolved and illuminated super beings. Wow. Like I said, I was looking at this chapter in this book. I said, well, that's an apropos conversation at this point in my publishing videos and research. Kind of a synopsis. Only got a couple pages. I don't know if I'll get through this whole chapter. But that's okay, because I can always continue and make another video. Invented crises lead to opportunity. The secret doctrine of the Illuminati, known by them as the order out of chaos, is confusing and nonsensical to the uninitiated, logical thinking persons. It is based, as we shall see, on the scientific concept that iron sharpens iron, and on the political dictum that crises lead to opportunity. Crises lead to opportunity. That's why they bring us all the crises. So what kind of crises you think will they bring us in the future, considering the crises we're experiencing right now or have experienced just recently? Earthquakes in Mexico, hurricanes, forest fires in the Midwest and the West. Lots of crises all over the world right now. What kind of opportunities are they presenting to these New World Order people? I suspect a lot. Another thing that might happen, I've been mentioning that's concerning, how can the insurance companies pay for these crises that are occurring, earthquakes and hurricanes and forest fires and all this destruction all over the world? They don't have that much money. They say we're in debt up to our heads already. What Satan's legions have realized for many generations now is that when the masses of people become frightened, harried, and beset by bloody chaos, they tend to turn to their leaders and plead, fix things, do something. So the more of these crises they create, the more of this horrible situation that they create, economic destruction or some kind of plague or some kind of terror event or all of the above and so much more, the people will beg and plead for the government to do something. And this is in some of the books, like the report from Iron Mountain. I made a video on that book. Or the Protocols of Zion, or the many other books I've made on the Zionist, Jewish, communist, elites, bankster peoples. So they will continue to cause us a lot of suffering until the people break down and cry for help and beg for their own enslavement. So it seems. Obviously, I'm adding a few things to this book I'm reading, my comments. Now this frantic desire for security creates opportunities for the Illuminati. They work to invent chaos, to generate anger and frustration on the part of humans, and thus take advantage of people's desperate need for order. Get it? Got it? In the 1920s, in pre-Nazi Germany, communist agitators and demonstrators took to the streets, threatening the security of the people. Then Hitler sent out his brown shirt thugs to confront the communists. So from my research, these puppet masters, Illuminati, witchcraft Zionists, just to explain what they are, into the ancient witchcraft hieroglyphics of the Egyptians and more, were behind Germany's brown shirts, but were also the controlling forces of the communists. They control both sides. That's the hardest thing for people to understand. The resulting explosion of discord caused by the German people to cry out for a leader, and see, the chaos in Germany caused the people to put Hitler in charge and his regime. So they had to create that economic destruction. Get it? Got it? So the people cry out for a leader who could reestablish order out of chaos. Hitler was their savior. They've done it before, they're going to do it again. The big question remains, will people wake up? Will people get united? Create something like We the People's Party. Forget Democrats and Republicans, conservative or liberalism. Forget that stuff. Let the 10 Commandments be a simple guide. Don't kill and don't steal. Don't bear false witness. Don't do perverted, decadent, sick sex. Children and all that. Raping people. Don't. It's a commandment. No adultery. Let's be decent, civilized people. Shall we? Create the People's Party. The world's People's Party. That's a kind of globalism we could all live with, probably. So I suspect that's why Jesus came to earth, why God sent him. What commandment did Jesus add to the commandments? Just one. That we shall love one another. Look it up in the Bible. They crucified him for that. What kind of force would crucify a man for preaching that we should love one another, not steal from one another, throw over the money changers' tables, the Pharisees and the elite Jewish people? They didn't want to hear that. Makes you wonder why the third of the angels in heaven were cast out. All right, so this chaos caused the people of Germany to select Hitler as their savior. That's how desperate they were. And I've read books on Germany, and I'll be going over those books again. There was a lot of activity going on. You can read the book Who Financed Hitler and so much more. It wasn't an easy thing from World War I to World War II. It was all planned. Even in 1880s, Albert Pike talked about it, wrote a letter to his friend Mazzini in Italy. 3 World Wars. And if there are these beings like Aleister Crowley was communicating with, interdimensional beings, that apparently when they appear they look like gray aliens, what do they know about the future? What are they planning for our future? Hitler was their savior, the man on the white horse, promising order out of chaos. Satanic secret societies, of course, controlled both the Marxist, communist forces and the Nazi opposition. In other words, chaos was created on purpose so that order and control could be established. Facing the dire results of the threatening chaos, the multitudes are more than willing, to empower a savior. So obviously it has to get a lot worse so that the people will select this knight in shining armor, as it says in this book, to put down the focus of the chaos and reestablish order. Out of the revolutionary chaos comes the opportunity for the plan of the Illuminati to be realized. And like I said, I've got about 500 hours worth of video material on YouTube, my rickmiracle.com channel, Rick Miracle, the Truth Seeker. And I gotta tell you, this stuff in this book seems to agree with my results of my research. Conspiracy writer Nestor Webster, another author of the books I've gone over and made videos on, was one of only a few keen observers who had suggested that the power of tyrants resides in the Masonic doctrine in world revolution. Webster outlined the operational plan of the global conspirators. Theirs, she wrote, is a systematic attempt to create grievances in order to exploit them. So that's why they have the gay agenda grievances, the Trump presidency grievances, the healthcare grievances, the grievances on terrorism, and so much more. It's all planned. Another chapter here, sinking of the Lusitania. This is a ship. Again and again, the controllers have artificially created a crisis and then come up with a prepared and advanced solution. So this is 9/11, World War I, World War II. They did all this, Pearl Harbor, etc. In 1917, the ship Lusitania was sunk in the Atlantic with loss of hundreds of passengers. So President Woodrow Wilson, back then, was re-elected president on the platform that I will not take our people to war. Meanwhile, he was planning to do it. He even conspired in 1913 with the Illuminati, Rothschilds, and others to create the Federal Reserve, a private bank to control the USA money supply, something they've been trying to do for quite a while. We were freed from that for about 40 or 50 years. Prior to that, three U.S. presidents were killed, assassinated. One was it was an attempted assassination, another one. So this has been no small battle for dominating the planet. It's been thoroughly planned, and like the Jesuits or the Illuminati or the Zionists or the Communists and many others of the secret societies, assassinating people is one of the options. And a lot of people have been killed lately. Everything from biologists to banksters, political people, a lot of people who worked for the Clintons, and a lot of others. You can go on YouTube videos and hear videos. People speak about so many people who have been mysteriously neutralized. Another word for killed. So President Woodrow Wilson and an Illuminatus blamed the tragedy on German U-boats. His intent was to bring the United States into the war on behalf of the British secret societies and Freemasonry. His problem, and that of his co-conspirators, was that the American masses abhorred and were opposed to war. So how do you get the American people to be for a war? You create an event like 9/11 and get everybody upset and angry. And that's what they did. That's what they do. That's what they're going to do again. Indeed, to win the election the previous year, so this is not me, this is Texe Marrs in this book published in the year 2000. It says, indeed, to win election the previous year, Wilson had promised he would never send American boys to fight in a European war. It is now believed by some capable historians that the British sank the Lusitania themselves and blamed German U-boats to allow Wilson to use the sinking as a pretext to commit U.S. troops and forces to battle against Germany. Well, what needs to be further explained is back then, Germany was winning the war, Britain was losing, and some elitist Jewish people, Jewish Congress, Jewish Zionist, elitist banksters, came up with a brainstorm idea that they could turn the tide and help Britain win the war with something called the Balfour Agreement. It was a deal. We'll get you the United States into the war so you can win, and we'll get you all the money and supplies you need so you can win, and Germany will lose, and you will support us to annex the Palestinians' land for our long sought after creation of the state of Israel to fulfill some kind of prophecy of our being the aristocrats of the world. Go look it up if you don't believe me. Please don't believe me. Go look it up. So other historians say that the cargo hold of the Lusitania was filled with weapons made in America and headed for Britain to be used in the war effort. In either case, the facts were covered up. President Wilson stirred up the public by lying and inflaming public opinion to hate the Germans. In this way, the angry masses were propagandized and persuaded to send U.S. troops overseas to fight World War I. So with that in mind, I want to remind people watching my video, when I started this, we talked about this book for a moment, the 911 Commission, with the seemingly cover-up of so much evidence, and the leader of this commission was Philip, saying his name wrong, I'm sure, Zigakow. The executive director is a dual citizen with Israel, and Israel's current prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, came to the United States, spoke to our Congress, which is kind of unprecedented. He was acting like the president of the United States. And all the people, if you go look up the video, stood up 19 times giving this guy an enthusiastic ovation every time he made a sentence. You could tell who was the head honcho there. I want to look at another document here. Take a break here from the book for a moment. New legislation in North Carolina would allow harmful 5G cell towers in neighborhoods. No citizen feedback allowed. June 6, 2017. Please look into this. This could be the final nail in our coffin. There are so many websites, essays, reports on this 5G network, and it's the way the government is handling this is really scary. It says here, it's in Natural News, the telecommunications industry can't wait to release the next generation of mobile phone technology, a controversial network standard known as 5G, fifth generation, which could be unveiled as soon as 2019. Apparently it's being developed and used right now and tested 2017 and probably largely in 2018, so it's not far away. But many citizens who will be directly affected by the technology's high-intensity radio frequencies aren't being kept in the loop about what's going on, including in the state of North Carolina, where legislators are right now pushing to have 5G towers located in neighborhoods without the consent of local residents. House Bill HB 310 allows the 5G transmitters to be installed on existing towers in public right-of-ways, greenways, conservation lands, and other types of property outside of the right-of-way, with the exception of single-family residences, without any input whatsoever from those who live near the future transmitter facilities. It would also go a step further in actually barring local governments from passing their own laws to prevent this technological invasion from occurring against the will of the people, all of course for the benefit of mobile phone providers. And there are some very interesting websites and books out there and speakers, educated people who are saying this is much more insidious than can be imagined. Dubbed the wireless communication infrastructure, Bill HB 310 was put together in secret by a panel of industry stakeholders and local government representatives with no input from the members of the public who will be affected by it. The bill's primary sponsor, Representative Jason Sain Lincoln, is also on record of having received over $20,000 in campaign contributions from the telecom industry, according to votesmart.org, which says a lot about who's calling the shots and trying to get it passed. So we know the corporations, the international corporations controlling the world, are behind and in cahoots for the new age and new world order. They don't want the people involved in this system that's being released. If you live in a single-family home near a light post, a water tower, or a public facility, 5G will be broadcast around you, warns Laura Combs, a citizen activist from Raleigh, who's been actively following the legislation's progress and attending General Assembly meetings to voice her objections. You could be forced to broadcast 5G and live with it. Perhaps even more concerning is that these facilities could be attached to schools, daycares, recreation centers, and other facilities used by kids. And I happen to have an electronic technology degree. I worked at a major aerospace company for 10 years. Even had a secret clearance, worked in a vault. I'm experienced about RF radio frequencies, analog, digital, even written some software code. So I can tell you when I would be going out into the field or out into one of the buildings with a big microwave dish. It had big signs in front of it. Do not walk in front of this dish. You could be seriously harmed, sterilized, etc. And there's other stories about people on U.S. battleships walking near the antenna and getting zapped and dying instantly. Apparently, these microwave transmissions were used in the Philadelphia experiment, Project Montauk. Apparently, these radio frequencies and certain frequencies and power levels can create vortexes and open even portals. Jacob's Ladder, look it up. Made videos on this stuff on many of my different series numbers. We'll have to go back and look at those books. Philadelphia Experiment, Peter Moon's books. The general public is already being bombarded day in and day out with RFs from 2G, 3G, and 4G technologies that a $25 million study conducted by the U.S. National Toxicology Program found that they are linked to causing serious health problems in mammals, including cancers of the brain and the heart. So there's a lot of news out there about people dying from brain cancer and stuff like that, tumors, just from cell phone usage. So it's about to get much worse. But they are planning on connecting everything to this beast system with these microchipped cars and cameras and maybe even washing machines, your electric system in your house, your TV certainly, your iPads, cell phones. They already have some advanced technologies and different kinds of systems that they can aim at our houses and see right inside, like X-rays, satellites in space, Gwen towers, everywhere. Every 200 miles they have a tower, and on the bottom they have this web of wires extending in all directions about 300 feet every 200 miles, and it creates a ground radio communication system In other words, it can polarize the whole ground in any selection of towers, making the ground either positive or negative polarity, which would either attract or repel clouds, which are electric. Remember, they produce lightning. And lately, with the sky spraying of heavy metals, apparently they're neutralizing that lightning, which is causing another kind of problem that people are not aware of, an ionization problem, either too much of or not enough of. And that can be very detrimental to human health and plant health and everything. In space, the ionosphere protects us from the cosmic rays from the sun and the space. And if they aim a HARP at it, a microwave transmitter, and they've got these HARP systems in Alaska, Puerto Rico, Norway, India, all over the world, like big triangle locations. And so they can bounce all these high frequency or low frequency pulses, boom, boom, like burst. And they can punch holes in the ionosphere, they can control the weather, they can steal the jet stream. If you go on to the weather reporting sites like NOAA, you can see the different temperatures, and you can see 1 week the whole Midwest will be hot with red, the East will be blue, freezing, and a couple weeks later it will be reversed. So they do have the tools, they are using the tools, as a lot of people are saying, and they're about to bring us this system with no public debate. You can go on YouTube and see many videos on all this stuff, even September 23rd, when some astrological phenomenon is about to take place with the constellations and the moon moving into the head of a lady constellation, while the sun is moving into her head and the moon is at her feet. Some kind of biblical prophecy prophesies for the 23rd of September. And also, I just thought I'd look at this on my website, rickmiracle.com. You can go to the top left and you can see a list like this. That's 50 video series, and you can see that some of those series I have more than one video. This is page 2, another 50 up to 100, and you can see some of these have more than one video. And again, page 3. So it names the book and the author and the number of videos I made. And I'm up to 154 with this book review. If you need to make a cheat sheet so that you can just print out the pages and watch some of my book reviews on the UFO alien material, channeled material like Esther Hicks with Abraham, or Jane Roberts with Seth, or Nancy Leader with the Vedas, or Lee Carroll with Cryon, and some other ones, the Edgar Casey, or Remote Viewing, Tim Rifat, David Morehouse, Jim Marrs, books on the occult I've made, mysticism, the Kabbalah, Freemasons, Peter Moon, Project Montauk, Philadelphia Experiment, and so many more. Pole shifting, Helena Blavatsky, the Theophist Society, Morals and Dogmas, Psychic World, Henry Ford, the automaker, the International Jew, Griffin's book, Edward Griffin, who I was watching his video today, and he made a recent video defending himself. He wrote the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Is about the story when the Rothschilds and Woodrow Wilson and Senator Hyde on Jekyll Island conspired to take over the USA money supply. Well, apparently he was also one of the people behind the famous video, What in the World Are They Spraying? And Dane Wigington, geoengineeringwatch.org, has sort of changed his message recently, according to what my observations, and I've had conversations with my friends about it, and they feel that he's a good guy, but apparently he's probably being controlled by the government. Maybe they're threatening him or his family, I don't know. But he has changed his message. He's admitting and saying geoengineering, chemtrailing the sky, and the HARP transmitters are detrimental to all life on planet Earth, as well as controlling the weather, etc. But he says, regardless of that global warming is real, and the whole planet is about to be ignited and destroyed within months. And he cites some material published by the evil secret society forces like the United Nations. So anyways, he was bashing G. Edward Griffin, saying that they were having a conference in Arizona coming up right away, and that they weren't admitting that global warming was real. So Dane Wigington was coming right out, and he's bashing anybody who doesn't agree with him that global warming is real. But he does support the fact that they are geoengineering the skies, and it needs to be stopped, and it's seriously detrimental to the whole planet. And so Griffin came out with his video saying that he has enough evidence that global warming is not real. Actually, we may have a situation of the sun having fewer sunspots, which creates global cooling. And according to my research and some of the charts I can get off of, I've shown in previous videos, that in the past, there have been spikes of global warming and cooling on a regular cycle, by the way. And throughout history, there have been warming periods and cooling periods and warming periods and cooling periods. So there's nothing unusual about that. And a warming period would actually be good for the planet when one considers that Canada, all that land north of the United States, and Russia, all that land constitutes, including Antarctica and the North Pole, more than half of the land mass would be habitable. So I can't see how it would be so detrimental. But in any event, even if there was something happening on a natural Earth cycle, it should certainly be a more logical way of dealing with it, with intelligence and planning. But that doesn't jive with the New Age and the New World Order goals. So I feel the global warming is a big hoax. And they do want to get some big, regular tax on humanity called a carbon tax. So I suspect it's the elites looking for another way to tax and enslave all the world's people. And there was a big thing on the internet with Dane Wigington bashing Edward Griffin, and Edward Griffin defending himself. And I was listening to that argument, and I've been having the same concerns about Dane Wigington's videos for the past few months, and mentioning it to my friends and saying, that's mighty suspicious what he's doing. And of course, one of my friends said maybe he's being threatened or controlled by the elites. Just an interesting conversation that's out there. So let me read a little bit more from the book. All right, I left off in this book, page 102, that President Wilson stirred up by the public by lying and inflaming public opinion to hate the Germans. In this way, the angry masses, like 911, were propagandized and persuaded to send U.S. troops overseas to fight World War I. The Illuminati intended to use the chaos of the war to further their globalist plot. Thus, following the Allied victory, President Wilson and his behind-the-scenes White House mentor, Colonel House, who later helped found the Council on Foreign Relations. I talked about them. They're controlled by the communist, Zionist, Kabbalistic, witchcraft sorcerers, Illuminati, high levels of secret societies, New Age groups, etc., etc., etc. Promoted the concept of the League of Nations, a predecessor of today's United Nations. The League of Nations was touted as the fledgling world government necessary to end all future wars. So they bring us these wars. They're going to bring us more chaos and anarchy until the people beg to be enslaved. And the electronic surveillance system, cell phone towers, satellites, beast computers, high technologies will have a firm grip on humanity, so it seems. We're going to be in trouble. And they are destroying everything. We've been having earthquakes. It's too much of a coincidence. Hurricanes lined up one behind the other. Bam, 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 bam. Forest fires out west, burning everything down. 2 years ago here in North Carolina, they were burning everything down. When I was in Florida, they were burning everything down. And all over the world, there's destruction taking place. So we are under attack. Syria's being destroyed, but there's so much distraction, people aren't paying attention. President Donald Trump says before the UN the other day, he's going to completely destroy North Korea. They're playing a big, vicious game with our reality. The Illuminati were unable to convince the American public to back the League of Nations scheme. So the people weren't going along and agreeing in World War I or after World War I to allow the Illuminati, that would be the communist, Zionist, Jewish, Kabbalist sorcerers, people into the secret societies of mysticism, including a lot of organizations that are not Jewish, into witchcraft, and people who are just greedy, perverted individuals who will betray mankind for their own selfish needs. You don't have to be Jewish for that. And it seems there's some kind of connection between these Kabbalah, witchcraft, sorcery, secret societies, and some other kinds of beings, in particular some kind of reptilian characters, interdimensional beings, watchers, archons, Palladians, Anunnaki, gray aliens. So there has and there is some other type of reality connected to our realities, which we all know there are monuments all over the world. There was a huge society before this one, before the Great Flood. Apparently there were a couple of them, and the monuments are out there. The books, the stuff is documented in the Hindu, Indian books and Buddhist Oriental books and ancient tribes all over the world, Hopi Indians, American Indians, Mayans, plenty of documentation. Shamans from Mexico all over the world taking drugs, seeing this other world, people into yoga and meditation and the occult, remote viewing. There's no lack of evidence. And apparently it's these entities from this other world who thrive on some kind of chaos and anarchy. So anyways, so the Illuminati were unable to convince the American public to back the League of Nations scheme. However, in 1913, earlier during Wilson's administration, the elitists succeeded in two long-cherished goals. First, their lackey, Woodrow Wilson, and his conspiratorial colleagues rammed through the Federal Reserve Act, creating the Bankers' Dictatorial Federal Reserve Board. And since 1913, when they took over the USA money supply, they've crashed the system at least 8 times after people in the United States would work hard and save their money and buy ranches and farms or start businesses, they were all destroyed. And these Federal Reserve elitist Illuminati sorcery witchcraft folks would reap all of the money from their destruction, apparently in cahoots with some kind of demonic beings, and building all kinds of worldwide apparatus like underground tunnels and weaponries, biological weapons, nuclear weapons, laser beam weapons, and now technological communication systems they were testing at Jade Helm 15 in the United States. It's right in this book. I'm only reading a couple pages here. Next, they tacked on the 16th Amendment to the Constitution, putting an albatross on the income tax and the IRS agency around the necks of the citizens. So they have some kind of thing they created that we're all dealing with the IRS and threatening people with imprisonment and all this if they don't pay. So that was page 103. And I appreciate people watching my videos and listening to my conversations. I'm just trying to get the word out. And I do have a link at the bottom of this video in the comment section. I do depend on donations for me to continue making these videos. So please consider, if you can't get active and do something, donate some money so that I can continue to do this. It does take up all my time. It does cost money. And I don't want to be forced to stop my research and spending many hours of my day, every week, every month, every year, as I've done for 13 years. I don't want to have to resort to a different technique and create a website with a password and make people subscribe, like a lot of other publishers have done. Benjamin Fulford. Even David Icke had to do it. Even plenty of people offering medical advice weren't getting any donations, so they had to do the pay for advice thing. So please consider clicking the PayPal donate link and contributing some money. It goes a long ways. And don't be afraid to share my videos with other people. Take notes when you watch my videos. Go look up other people's videos. Pay attention to the authors I talk about. Print out the list off my website, rickmiracle.com, top left-hand side. And use it as a cheat sheet. Even go watch other videos by those authors I talked about. Get diversified in your investigation. Find out the truth and share it. And don't become part of the divide and conquer. And realize that there are people out there creating counter information, trying to discredit the truth. Thank you for watching my video, Rick Miracle Reporting.